and just thinking, so why have I come to Bosnia? So the reason was simple. One of the perks of being in Turkey is that you're central and you can fly to a lot of different places. And I found out flights from Istanbul to Sarajevo was pretty cheap. So let's go to Sarajevo. I had booked it a few years ago and got cancelled because of the pandemic. So I saw the hotel booking. I'm sorry for my flight refunds. But I thought let's take the opportunity to come and see what it's like and do a bit of a tour of Sarajevo, because I think there's a lot of Muslim history here, a lot of Ottoman history, a lot of masjid, a lot of good places to eat. So it kind of sounds like a ideal location for a Muslim tourist to go to and visit, and there's a lot of Muslims there as well. And of course we know what happened with the history in the 90s with the Yugoslavia, fall of Yugoslavia and those wars, which is quite tragic. It doesn't know what happened in Srebrenica, what happened in Sarajevo, and all that kind of sieging and people that died. So there's a lot of sad history, there's a lot of beauty, and there's a lot of, I guess, Ottoman history. So it's a kind of a bittersweet area to see, but I think it's definitely a good place to visit, which is why I'm kind of recording this in a medieval area, which I've forgotten the name. I'm going to put on the screen. It's clearly slipped my mind. But I'm at the top of the tower, which I'll show you on my other videos. And this is one of the areas Ottoman conquered. It took 15 years because it's so high up, which you'll see on the video. So I thought this would be quite cool just to do a little vlog on Bosnia, Sarajevo, and the different areas I'm going to go to, and kind of give you guys some insight into what that's like. And if it's a place that you want to visit, then it's definitely like one of the locations for like Muslim tourism, or just generally, I mean, they call it the mini Jerusalem. I can see the reason why, especially in Sarajevo, the old city. I'm just quickly recording this on a whim at top of this old medieval 13th, 14th century tower. And I'm going to kind of be covering some of the logistics, such as getting a SIM card, exchanging money, and just showing you like some of the beauty of Bosnia. So I hope you enjoy it. And I'll also be back to posting some stuff on Bursa as well soon. Okay, so these are the basics. You can easily buy a SIM card. We simply went to any newsstand, and this costs 4 km, which is about, I think, about €2, about 170, something like that. £1.70, you get 15 GB for 5 days. So they've got SIM cards that are very valid for tourists, and you can easily get for yourself when you're coming to Bosnia. Also, in terms of money exchange, you can either exchange cash. There's a lot of exchange points, or you can simply just bring your TransferWise card and exchange money there at cash point. I use a Ziraat cash point, and I normally get a good rate. If you've not got a TransferWise account, I would suggest getting it, and I'll post a link on the comments. So if you want to have an invite, use my invite for TransferWise. It is a very useful card for traveling. But this is some of the basics I'm covering for the first day. Javabi. And yogurt, milk, which is like iron. So you can see like this area definitely has like old city Jerusalem vibes. If you've been, you'll know for sure. And of course, you know, baklava is popular in both areas. But yeah, this place, the Sarajevo Old City, unsurprisingly, Old City, but Ottoman influence as well, has defo got that feel, as I said. This is the Gazi Husrev Bey mosque, or Jami, as you want to call it, and you can tell straight away it's like we're back in Turkey with like the structure here, because of course the Ottomans are here for a good 400 years. Gazi Husrev Bey was somebody, so after Muhammad al-Fatih conquered this area, Sarajevo, Gazi Husrev Bey kind of ran, I guess, like the governorship or something along those lines, and he did a lot for the area. He built a lot of buildings. He built this mosque, of course. I think this is not the first one. I think the Emperor's one is the first one here. This is another one he built in the sort of centre of the old city. But then he also built, if you've watched Ertuğrul or Osman, you'll know about the areas where the caravanserai, where all the madness always happens, all the ambushes always happen, where Jan, if you've ever seen season 2, comes in, and that's like an area where, for guests, for businessmen, for anyone that comes in, travellers, musafirs, they'll come to the area, stay for 3 days, have their food for free, and just kind of have a place to stay for 3 days for free, no charge at all. And that was something that he also brought along, and I've got some clips which I'll show and I'll add on, but it is pretty cool here. Like, you can very clearly see the Ottoman influence. There is no doubt about that, and they honour it a lot as well. I don't know if the mosque is open right now. I think they're cleaning it, so I can't go in. But if I do go in, I'm pretty certain it's going to look exactly the same as the other mosques I've got in my vlog on Bursa. So perhaps I won't go in and show you inside. This is like, there's no salah happening right now anyway. Right now they're just cleaning up. But yeah, this is the Gazi Husrev Bey Mosque, or Jami. I'm used to say Jami, but here it says mosque. So yeah, next place I will try to show you is the Emperor's Mosque. But also let's see what we come across. So as you can see on the floor here, it says East and West. So Sarajevo meeting of the coaches. So you can see this side, it's got that typical European architecture and structure, and I guess it's influenced by the Austro-Hungary Empire when they took over. But if you come onto this side, you might not see much in this clip, but this is the east side. So say Sarajevo is a place where Eastern culture meets Western culture, so the Islamic culture sort of meets the Christian culture, the Christian side meets the Islamic side. And here you've got the sort of Gazi Husrev Bey Jami. You might just see over there, I'm not sure, there's one of the Jamis, or the mosques on this side. And then here you have more of the, like I said, the churches, and I think the synagogues around that side as well. So this is quite a cool place in Sarajevo where the cultures meet. And yeah, next I'll be going to a significant area, the Latin Bridge, which one of the world's life-changing events happened, the spark that really did change the world. So can you guess what that might be? It was about 100 years ago. So here we are, and if you haven't guessed it yet, this is the Latin Bridge over there, and from this place was the spark. What spark was it? The assassination of Monarch Franz Ferdinand and the Archduke of, I think it's Austria-Hungary, and he was assassinated here at this very spot. And if you know your history, you'll know this is what triggered the First World War. Here you can see. So he was his pregnant wife, Sophia. But this is, yeah, literally, they were at the time looking for any event that would trigger the First World War. I mean, they were really hungry to fight each other. But Allies and the Austro-Hungary Empire, the Allies being Britain, France, Russia. Were they really allies? Oh, the Great Game, not really. But yeah, this First World War is literally what changed the whole landscape of the world. It's what led to the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, what led to the collapse of many empires, and what led to many borders being drawn up. So I had no idea that this area is in Sarajevo. So you've got a lot of history here, from the First World War to the last 30 years with the fall of Yugoslavia and the siege and genocide. And then of course you've got the Ottoman history, 400 years. So this city has got a lot of amazing history. Now I'll try going to, I think it's the Emperor's Mosque, because it's the oldest mosque in Sarajevo. So I'll be crossing the Latin Bridge and I'll be heading towards the Emperor's Mosque. And there's, I think, one more place that we'll be going to on the walking tour, or just going past the 7 tombs of the 7 brothers is called, and I'll briefly explain what that is, what my tour guide has told me about that. It's an interesting story too. So we've walked down from the Latin Bridge over on that side. I won't bother zooming in. And now we're heading towards the Emperor's Mosque, which is right here. Cross over so you might be able to get a better view of it from the outside anyway. So this is the oldest mosque apparently in Sarajevo, and the mad thing was, so got big names here. So Muhammad al-Fatih, who made the mosque infrastructure, is a lot smaller than it was before. Then you had Suleiman Kanoni, or Suleiman the Magnificent as people know him. He expanded the mosque to the size that it is today. Maybe more renovations after, I'm not so sure. But yeah, you got two, arguably, like some argue the greatest Ottoman sultans that built this mosque. So inside it is more or less the same kind of thing, where you've got the courtyard, the Ottoman style mosque, and I think you have some graves a bit further down next to it. But right now I'm going to try to find the story of the 7 brothers, which I think should be somewhere here. So this is the area, I believe. Yeah, it's in the maps. And let's see if I can get in somewhere. So what's significant about this area? So based on what the tour guide told me, so the 7 brothers, they weren't, as far as I'm aware, all born at the same time. But what essentially happened was, I believe the first one was a sheikh, from what I read online, like just before. But essentially there's 2 dervishes at a point in history that were wrongly accused for something, and they were executed. And they later found out that they were innocent. And then later on, another time, I think there was 4 captains of the Bosnian army or something like that, maybe about 100 years ago. So they were also accused for allowing one of the enemies to kind of get into Sarajevo quite easily. But again, they were also found to be innocent at a later point. People didn't believe that they were behind it or had those sort of intentions. So it's called the Yedileri, which is spelled with a J here. The J is pronounced as a Y, and if you know your Turkish numbers, Yedi is 7, Yediler is 7s, or Yedileri is the definite 7s. So it kind of comes from that name. Essentially, so they built this as a sadaqah for them, for those people. And then I think there's like a place where you can donate some money, and they say, make dua for them, etc. I think the graves are here as well, of course. But it's quite cool that, not cool because it's wrong that they were killed, but to sort of make up for it, they built literally this. I think you can pray here as well. I'm not so sure right now. It's not open, but it's pretty cool that you can literally, it's pretty cool that they built a sadaqah for them, which may Allah accept, and may it still be something that gives them good deeds to this day. So it's quite an interesting story. The first brother was a sheikh that was highly revered, and he had the initial tomb built around him as they used to do those days, and the 2 dervishes that were killed unjustly, and then the 4 captains of the army that were also killed unjustly. And then as a result of that, they built this around them and made it a sadaqah for all of them, so all the 7 brothers, the 7 tombs. So that's quite an interesting story, I think. So it's coming back from the mosques, and I think it is this building that doesn't look like an Ottoman structure at all. In fact, it is an Austro-Hungary building. I think it was their parliament building or something like that. And there's a link to this building and that building there, but I won't tell you what that is exactly. I think if you come down and join the Meet Bosnia walking tours, you can find out for yourself what's the link between that building and that one over there. But I think initial impressions of the city is very, very historical, and that's the stuff I love seeing. There's so much Islamic history, and of course more recent history in the last sort of 100 years, from the First World War to the sort of genocide stuff that happened, which you'll see in hopefully the later day 2 and day 3 more likely when we go to Srebrenica. But I love personally going to places that has Islamic history, that is a Muslim city. It can, it's that sort of thing I dig and I like doing. So I would advise coming to Bosnia so far. Just an initial impression of visiting Sarajevo. There's so much here to see, to take in. There's so many stories that go back so many years, so many characters and heroes, and like the city does have that history, which is why me personally, I don't really like going to places like Dubai. I feel like a lot of it is artificial. I mean, it's not saying I wouldn't go, but it's just to say that stuff like you don't get this sort of level of history there. It's still very much a baby in terms of the age of that country. There's nothing really there. I mean, you can have luxury, you can have the resorts, the shopping malls and stuff like that, but it's not real authentic history like this. Maybe in 100 years time there might be stuff for them to report, but right now, like I love coming to cities like this and just taking it all in and hearing from the local people that know it inside out, and hearing their stories as well. What happened, how old were they when the siege and the genocide was happening, and did it affect their family, and also just taking in their knowledge of the history, the Ottoman side of things as well. I think the people I met from Meet Bosnia are very, very knowledgeable. They give you a lot of intellectual information as well. So it's not just like, oh, this is this and this is that, but it kind of goes into like a much more deeper level, and even talk about the socio-economic areas or status of the city and Bosnia and the political situation. So you can get an awful lot of information from them, and I've had a quite good experience with Meet Bosnia so far, especially today. The initial first impression has been really good, and the sort of customer service when I was messaging them has been pretty good. But I should say some of the drawbacks, or let's say, what comes part and parcel of this city is you do have quite a few Syrian refugees here, which is not a bad thing, of course, but also have quite a lot of persistent beggars. So just be wary of that. The ones that carry one on tap your shoulder and keep asking for money. So just a heads up for that. I wasn't really expecting that. I wasn't aware of that. And so we almost got pickpocketed. The Romanians are here, like literally. The gypsies, I'm not sure if they're all Romanian, but that's what we were told. And the ones that you find in Istanbul, like I didn't expect the order to be here. Maybe they have a crazy history, but thankfully caught them just in time, opened their bag, but literally spotted them, confronted them, and of course they denied it, and as they do, create commotion and disappear. So that was very much an experience. So just a heads up on that. The pickpockets here are real and they exist here. And I thought it would be more likely to happen to me in Istanbul, but no, it happened here. So be wary of that. And I think they've been around for many, many years. And maybe I need a tour for that, but who knows. But anyway, this is day one. Tomorrow, inshallah, we'll be doing the Mostar Herzegovina tour. Hopefully it'll be warmer there. And on Sunday, we'll be going to Srebrenica, the memorial. So it should be very, very eye-opening and sad. And then on Monday, so the fourth day, we'll be doing the fall of the Yugoslavia tour, which will be around Sarajevo, and we'll be seeing a bit more of the Sarajevo history. So far, so good. I do feel like I should recommend Sarajevo so far, but I will give like an end reflection on day 5 about how I found the experience. But I mean, for me, I dig it. Islamic city, Islamic history, and meeting a lot of Muslims here. I mean, that's where I get my my buzz from. Others might not, but so far so good. So keep watching, inshallah. Hopefully it'll be very interesting and very good, and hopefully it'll encourage you and a lot of Muslims in the UK and the West to come and see it for themselves, what it's like in Bosnia, and come visit Bosnia. I think it's sort of been under the radar. Especially, I wasn't really aware of the whole Srebrenica stuff, and I wasn't really aware of the history here, but there's a lot to see here.